Our job's to wake you all back up, get you back engaged. And before we jump into the topic, one of these things is not like the others. I have 4 esteemed guests joining me, so I'll let them introduce themselves. But first, my name is Brian Paget. I am responsible for the sales and marketing efforts at Sureify. Really, that means I have several wonderful team members that put on this event and other things. And so really appreciate you all coming. And if I can get another big round of applause for all their hard work, I'd really appreciate it. JJ?
Great. Well, thank you, Brian. So my name is JJ Carroll, and I am here today coming from AAA Life Insurance Company, where I lead product development and innovation, and really looking for creating value for AAA members, and a lot of that is through ease of doing business. And Sureify has been a tremendous partner for us as we look especially at innovative products and how we bring those to market and how we create and deliver those. So I'm excited to be here and share some of the work that we've been doing. I'll pass it on to Todd.
Thank you, JJ. My name is Todd Siebel. I'm with RGAX, which is a subsidiary of RGA Reinsurance. I work in the innovation area of RGA. We have 4 innovation leads. We're doing a lot of experimentation in different areas. Embedded is the one that I happen to be working in. And we look more to Horizon 2, Horizon 3 type of opportunities with it.
Well, thank you. And thank you everyone for joining us, and Brian for bringing us all together for this event. Looking forward to learning a lot more about the future of insurance. So my name is Evelina Mroczek. I go by Evie at times as well. I work for Lincoln Financial. I lead annuity product and market research team. I've been with the industry for about 20 years, close to 20 years at this point. Started in the actuarial field through the product development. Currently, I focus on looking at a team that's looking to understand what's happening in the competitive landscape, what's happening in the future of insurance, and looking at bringing data to the forefront in product development.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for being here. Brian, thanks for having us, and delighted to be with these fellow panelists. I'm Juan Massini. I'm a senior analyst with Celent, a research and advisory firm, helping financial institutions navigate the maze of IT that we're in today. I happen to lead a group of colleagues as a head of insurance practice for what internally we call rest of the world, because it includes everything except North America, where I have a colleague that we co-lead the entire global team. And I happen to be also the one leading the innovation theme within Celent, helping financial institutions innovate better.
Again, thank you all. So it should come of no surprise. We're at an InsurTech event, and so there are plenty of buzzwords. And like many things, they can mean a lot of things. It's very wide, not always deep, but I think this topic, embedded insurance is both wide and actually can be very deep. And so I want to start off, want to hear from all of you, but Juan, I really like your definition. I'd love to, what does embedded insurance mean to you?
I think it's not something new. I mean, as many other things, they get just reinvented, and we have some new flavors. Embedded insurance for us, at least at Celent, our view is taking the insurance to the point of interaction. And what you have, and maybe what is distinct these days, is that you have these different flavors. Like, for example, you can talk about invisible embedded insurance. And this is insurance that becomes part of a product or a service. And customers, to be covered, they don't need to opt in. They're covered automatically. And I'm not saying that we are doing something illegal. So it's not that they are getting a product they didn't ask for, but it's an integral part of the service. So imagine you rent a scooter for minutes, hours, and that comes with personal accident insurance there. And you don't know. You're automatically covered. Anything happens, it's there. It's invisible. You don't know. You don't have to opt in. The second example of embedded insurance is in-app, something that we started seeing mostly or first in Asia Pacific, with the super apps. And suddenly the super apps starting offering financial services, including insurance. The experience is managed by the app, not by the insurance company. And as a customer, you have to opt in. But it's really easy. It's just like that. It's swipe, and you're insured. And the third is the one I believe we're all more familiar, which is embedded insurance as a platform. You have partners. Those partners have an interest to include insurance as part of their offering because it's tied to a product or service they sell, or just because they want to offer more things to their customers. Now, the new thing over here is more digital than it used to be before. And the experience that in any platform they are expecting is more real time. So it's not a batch process that you're going to do with a group life policy and issuing the certificates every week or every month. It's in real time. So that's kind of the difference, I would say.
So, Juan, thanks for kicking us off. Evie, I'll just come right down the line. And
All right, sure.
What do you think?
Well, thank you. I think from my perspective, I like to think of embedded insurance as being present in the moment. And it's really looking at identifying the points of where the conversation is happening, where our solution is really the answer that needs to be presented to address the need. I mean, insurance has been built and developed to address needs of those purchasing. So to me, looking at embedded insurance is identifying the points of entry where the conversation is happening and being present there.
Huh?
Yeah, I think you could go everywhere with this. There's an awful lot of breadth to it, but for what we're trying to innovate in the Horizon 2, Horizon 3 is looking at embedded insurance as a micro-insurance, sort of a gateway to more meaningful coverage as people's life experiences change. They may get their first opportunity to have life insurance there, but now they have a realization that this has a value to me, and as my life situation changes, now I can find agents and others to bring me more meaningful coverage in the future.
Couldn't agree more.
And maybe to build on what you're saying, Todd, I think that's a lot of the way that we're thinking about it in terms of, one of the challenges we have as a life industry is awareness of life insurance, and how do we raise that awareness of insurance, and how do we make it so easy to purchase life insurance, and kind of that entry level getting into that. And then you create this lifetime value of that customer with your company over time, but we have to bring them in somehow. And so finding opportunities to embed life insurance into other experiences that customer is already having is a way to essentially create that awareness and bring them into the family.
Yeah, agreed. Like I said, it can be very wide and very deep, and I think there's, we'll get into talking a lot about the lessons that we can learn from other industries, other geographies. To tie in the morning session first, but kind of step back, often when we talk embedded, a lot of people go straight to think direct-to-consumer or not necessarily agent involved. I agree, Juan. I think that's incorrect. So I always like to go back and say, well, how does the agent benefit? And Todd, why don't you take it first? I'll throw it to you.
I think agents benefit if you're partnering with the right brands and the right insurtechs that can identify life opportunities in the future. So let's say that I have an embedded product and it's a micro-insurance play, but I'm dealing with banks or some institution that has significant data on the individual, and they can recognize those life pivots where life insurance is more valuable to the individual, then those things can be redirected back to agent. Because we're still in an era where people have to have most life insurance product explained. Sure. It is not a purely digital experience as much as we've tried to make it one for most of the opportunities that are out there. So,
Evie, take the annuity side of that. I mean, I think your thoughts on this is
all right. Well, the way I look at it is annuity in itself, right? It's complicated. It's something that annuities are sold, not bought. So kind of tying this back to an agent, I truly believe annuity, if you view an annuity as an asset class, as a product, an offering that an individual should have in their portfolio, what better way is than to embed annuity into a financial planning conversation? And I think this is really where there's enormous opportunity to really bring forth the education for the product and the offering. A lot of times the success of annuities is those agents willing to talk about it, hence being present in the tools that they work in, where they work with their clients to create the financial plans is really the way to, oh, I hear a little bit of a background. It's really a way of being able to be present.
Let me see if it's me.
It's a way to be present and be visible. And I think for our industry, it will really gain traction, but it also will challenge us back to bring more creative product offerings to be visible as well.
JJ, I mean, education, you talked, is one of our opportunities to just, did you know we even sell these products? Do you know what they are? Maybe you should shed some light on how you're specifically helping agents and benefit from an embedded experience.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, I want to start with your framing there, because one of the interesting points in our customer research when we were looking into this product that we built was that when customers are purchasing auto insurance, they don't realize that there are no life benefits embedded within that product and that experience. And that was a real eye-opening comment for us in that customer research. So being able to make life insurance part of an auto insurance purchase process, and really, while it's not strictly embedded insurance, certainly not the invisible kind, right? It is embedded within the experience. And so in that case, it really benefits the agents in, I would say, which agent is maybe my question, right? So you've got a multi-line agent who is there, who is earning a commission on something that takes only 4 minutes to do. They can earn quite a fair amount of extra cash while they're doing this. So that's a great experience for them. And then for the life specialist as well, we've seen they're getting a lot of referrals even in this early part of the sale. So in the first 2 states where we started this, within 6 months we saw 150% growth in our life business just from bringing this program and introducing this program. So we're getting not only the new customers coming in with this micro, and it's not really micro insurance, but it's a smaller amount of insurance. You're also getting referrals into larger policies as well to those life specialists. So you're seeing the benefit to the agent there. And then, as I mentioned, we're really thinking about what is the lifetime customer value there. And so that creates enormous opportunity for those agents as they think about, okay, so now you've purchased your first policy and you're aware that life insurance is a separate thing from auto, or that it exists and is important and it's something that you want to protect your family. Then how else can we look at that when, we're also selling additional annuities as a result of this conversation. So really looking for those broader other opportunities that can go along with that initial sale.
It helps with the conversation. I think it's the idea of we can leverage embedded insurance as a gateway to be present, right? And it's that if that conversation's happening there and you have the client's full attention, the key is to be present and visible and easy to continue to the next step. And I think that's really the huge opportunity the embedded insurance can open the doors for all of us to come together regardless of the product, right? Because at the end of the day, each individual is looking for protection, some type of protection.
Juan, so I'd love your opinion on the agent, but also, I know you look a lot at what's going on outside of North America. I think they're a little further ahead of us in some areas.
Yeah, well, in some, in others, they aren't. So first of all, when you think about all the countries around the world, they don't all share the same regulation. In many countries, you cannot sell insurance if you are not a licensed agent. So even those that become your partners, they need to become an agent. Now, what does that mean to the existing agents? Well, they have more competition, of course, but they need to be an agent. So I wouldn't disregard regulation when we're thinking about embedded insurance. The other thing is, I discussed the different flavors, right? And the one that we're more used to is the platform play. And evidently there are new players coming in there, more digital players. So there is a question about agents, independent agents, how good they are in their own digital transformation to be able to compete with those other outlets. That doesn't mean that they cannot bring business to the carrier. I've seen that happen. So they have the relationship with the potential partner, they bring it to the carrier, and they have a commission. And if you think it in a more global scale, and this is not life insurance, and a disclosure here, our company is part of the MMC group of companies from Marsh, but Marsh Amazon looked to Marsh because they need to put a program in place all around the world. They couldn't go to a single carrier, but there's no single carrier that is present all around the world. So they needed an agent, they needed a broker in this case to do that. So you still need it. But I think that the most important thing about embedded insurance is something that maybe, I don't know, maybe here in the US is not so significant, or maybe I'm wrong, you can correct me, but is getting with new products that agents are not selling today because it's not cost effective, but that is really important for customers, particularly those in most need, those that insurance is going to make the difference in their lives. And embedded insurance gives that possibility of getting to underserved populations. And this is very, very common when you go outside of the US, particularly emerging markets, and you see the uptick of this type of insurance. Short duration, tightly coupled to the service product they are using, but with a real benefit. It's not that they're just overpaying for a product. They do have a benefit. I think that's the difference.
I think that's super important, Juan. We're taking down the barriers for those agents to be able to sell this product, right? And that's a lot about what the purpose, I think, behind embedded. One, it's the customer experience. How are we enabling it for the customers to achieve this, but also the agent, what are we doing to support them? I think it all comes down to technology too, a lot of it.
And building on that, I think for the platform, kind of maybe tying it to ecosystem, right? Talking about another buzzword at times, right? But you also can leverage the concept of embedded insurance by identifying the clients that you otherwise wouldn't have reached. And if you have a cohort of clients that cannot present the same characteristics and they are perfect target audience for your product, all of a sudden that one agent can reach a cohort and becomes a lot more cost effective. So for those that weren't previously reachable within the established business model, it opens new opportunities. I think one of the differences, and through my personal opinions on that, is the difference between Europe and US also is, I think, the approach at times. I think in the US we're very established in our distribution models. So I think some of that embedded insurance has a different role here versus in some of the developing countries. They're starting from scratch with technology, so they're looking at the technology as somewhat a form of an agent. So that opens different gateways as well and opportunities for embedded insurance.
Yeah, and many of those populations, they don't have access to an annuity or a sophisticated life insurance. So more, lower amounts, lower premium. That's giving them something, and they wouldn't be a target to any other. So.
Yeah, because the existing models are not cost effective in that market.
Exactly.
So that's really just a new approach.
Yeah, so it's not about trying to divide the same pie, but growing the pie.
Yeah. To Juan's point about regulation and regulatory, and the way most regulation is today is you have to have an insurable interest. And what if we could envision a day where the insurable interest is just the social good that's provided by a primary brand, providing a small level, but a social safety net level of coverage to the individuals that do business with them. It's an entirely different way of looking at things, but getting beyond the insurable interest of the person who's making the purchase.
No more GoFundMes. I mean, it would be kind of an amazing outcome for sure. So building, I mean, we're not necessarily, we're definitely blazing new trail as an industry, but there's a lot to learn from. Building on that in other markets in the P&C space, question for all of you, where do you think embedded insurance is going? And maybe a better way of saying it, where should it be going? JJ?
So I can think, just years ago, one of the things when I was first studying protection gap and where can we do it, what changes could we make, one of my favorite examples that I don't know that it exists, and maybe it does elsewhere in the world, but it was this concept of tying insurance to specific needs that a family has. And so my favorite one was essentially tying it to your loyalty with your local grocery store. And if you can somehow embed it in that activity that somebody is doing, wouldn't it be great if your family at least had groceries on the table, for the next 2 years to help them get through a crisis situation, even if it's a year, whatever time frame, that you start to break down that need for insurance into what is it really providing that family. I think that helps that family, that breadwinner, think about what is it they're providing to their family, and how might we create this safety net around those specific needs. It's pretty common in mortgage insurance, but there are other things that we do to provide for our families, and if we could help customers think a little bit differently, I think we can make inroads in more specific areas.
Anybody else?
I'll jump in.
Please.
I think another great opportunity, kind of thinking through the retirement income, is if you look at 401ks, right? The defined contribution versus defined benefit plans. I think there is a great opportunity of thinking through how can we leverage the concept of embedded insurance and bringing that into retirement income. I think there's going to be a future ahead of us where we'll have individuals coming in with assets in 401ks looking at the need of funding retirement income. Well, how can we be present earlier, right, to make that decision and maybe give them access to products when they're younger, when they are in the process of acquiring that asset? I think there is an opportunity there. I know companies are already looking at in-plan guarantee type benefits. I think that's a nice flavor of kind of being somewhat invisible, maybe, somewhat embedded, somewhat in the partner and app. I think that's one, but I believe the immediate need is really working on being present of those who are the evangelists of the need for retirement planning, is identifying the opportunities for the financial planning tools and being present there to drive the education. And I think that within itself is really going to open the gateways of bringing the need for insurance forward. I also believe, COVID did an interesting number, right, on the insurance industry. All of a sudden, folks started to realize that there is a real fear of death, right? And life insurance went through the roof, right? People start asking for it. Well, is there an opportunity to think of embedded insurance to drive the education that, yes, you need this is where it's there. And that in itself, building with establishing a frictionless process, I think is really the opportunity.
I really like JJ's example of a grocery store, because by buying something that I have to have, I'm getting something else of value. And we all see life insurance as value. We just have a lot of other values that take priority. And so if we can tie life insurance embedded through products that we have to have anyway, we really do build that safety net.
Juan?
I think there's an opportunity to provide customer choice. So when I look at embedded insurance, I think we are giving customers more choices to select how to get and how to use insurance, and even opening to people that they would not consider insurance otherwise. So I think that's one of the opportunities. But I don't see this as the mainstream. This is not gonna be 50% of the premium in the next 5 years or 10 years. This is fringe. This is something that is coming, and there are regions that evidently they're going to have more adoption than others. But I think that the other opportunity is more to the internal of the carriers, because in order to do or to make these digital partnerships happen, you need to have a technology stack that allows you to have hundreds of partnerships at a fraction of a cost of what it costs today to create those in any traditional or incumbent in the States or anywhere. And that capability that you create because you're innovating in the fringe, it can go mainstream because it can help carriers with other businesses that are their core business to be much more agile. We're talking about open APIs. We're talking about microservices. We're talking about being able to create as many partnerships, as many ecosystems, not only for embedded, but for anything else. I think there's an opportunity there as well. And one thing, I don't think this is going to happen in the US because we haven't seen the same in banking, but in places like Europe where they have open banking, they are now discussing open insurance. So this will not be a question of, I want to do it because it's a competitive advantage. The regulator will put it as leveling the playing field for everybody. Every carrier will need to have open APIs, so a customer can tell to a third party, you have access to all the data that this carrier has from me to be able to provide me some kind of offering that they are not providing me. So that is game changing. So I don't think you don't have the history of imposing those type of things, at least not from the banking experience. But Brazil has already launched this. It's in stage 2. Australia is considering it, and Europe is also in the process of.
I want to save some time for questions. I don't know if we have several flowing in, but before we get there, we've talked a lot about where we could go, what we've seen. That's quite often at these events. I, for one, always want to know, how do I get started? What advice? How do I not make the same mistake? So where do people interested in this that are passionate or think, maybe they've already started, but what advice would you give them? Where do they get started? JJ, you want to take it?
Up on what Juan was just saying about technology, right? So I think technology plays a critical role in being able to execute on this, right? So you, not only do you as the carrier have to have technology enabled, but you have to make sure that your partner's technology is enabled as well, and that you can connect and share data, right? So part of this, the concept of embedded insurance, is leveraging the data from your partner to make it a smoother and easier experience. I think leveraging other partners along the way. I know, for example, I saw Mr. Maybe from LexisNexis here today. We are using them in a piece of, how can we leverage partners to take away some of that pain, some of that friction that you were talking about, Evie, and enabling you to do this. So technology is a huge part in making this happen. And I think investing up front early around, what is that architecture around what are you going to implement and how's that going to look is super critical.
Todd, yeah, I mean, she talks about managing, one partner's enough work to manage it on its own, but what about when they're maybe multiple partners downstream? I know you...
Yeah, it's a challenge. We're looking at that as well and looking at how do we condense the partners that we use, because every additional partner obviously is an additional mouth to feed and you want to provide value. So finding partners that are very broad in scope that could potentially do TPA duties and some BGA duties, and combine those things together to help you with the administration of that embedded product, but then also sales of additional product.
Other advice? How do they get started?
I think that as within innovation, because I see this to many companies as something innovative, you need to have clarity of why you are doing this. What's your strategy? And then look into the building blocks that you need to go to market. It's not going to be easy, because this is not taking what we were discussing earlier. This is not Horizon 1 innovation. This is not your traditional business. You're really doing something that is a little bit different, and that requires other capabilities. So you need to get good at innovation. I think that the good piece of news is there are a lot of startups, there are a lot of traditional vendors, data platform providers that can help you in this. So I would reach out. There are plenty of partners that can help you.
Well, I guess the one thing I'll toss in here, building on what everyone said, is the fact that you actually have to do it. This is not going away. I think a lot of times those, coming from a carrier with years of being in the business, we tend to kind of default to our own ways. And sometimes we have a hard time understanding that this is a new opportunity that it's not necessarily going to deter us from what we're doing, but it's only going to expand us and create new market share. So just really being true to yourself and saying that, okay, we have to do this and we're going to fail along the way. We're going to have to learn and transform within to really be ready to be present. Because doing this right is not a one-time product launch. It's not a one-time marketing launch. It's a continuous test and learn and evolution of integration. I think one of the things that's really hasn't been maybe brought to the forefront is the level of work that has to happen for these connections to work, right? Us as carriers, we have this image of a solution that this is where it fits. The distributor, the embedded partner, has an ecosystem that we're trying to get connected in. And a lot of times we try to find somewhere in the middle, right, to fit. But we're not there from the get-go, right? So we have to continuously work and evolve. So I would say.
May I say something else? Because you made me remember something that was very important. And this is a very, I cannot give names, but this is a very big global carrier. And they're really good at doing embedded insurance, by the way. But they had to learn it the hard way. Because one of the things that they had is, obviously, they're big. So typically, we build the product, we push it, and it gets sold.
There you go.
And this is different because the ones that know the customers are your partners. So you have to co-create. Being humble. And I know it sounds easy. It's really difficult in corporate culture, particularly if you're big. So, being humble.
Well, and you have plenty of time. I know the boss, and she usually lets me have a couple extra minutes. Paul, do you want to come up? Maybe we'll grab one question if there's a good one, or if we're out of time, someone yell at me and tell me to get off stage.
I guess really quickly, the last one would just be, is it realistic to think we can sell non-simplified issue insurance in an embedded play? I don't know if that's quick, because Paul's going to be mad at me, but...
That's a level 2 or 3 question, I think, isn't it?
Is non-simplified issue?
Yeah, is it realistic to think we can sell something other than a very small policy?
Not today. We've been looking at partnering with brands, and brands tell us, ask one additional question, and you knock off my take-up by 15%. So if we go to fully underwritten or reflexive questioning, I think you can forget about it today. Is there a future for it? Potentially, but I just don't see it today.
I think our vision early on was that data would solve everything, right? That you could stop asking questions because you could go capture everything from data. It's not there yet, right? We're definitely seeing anti-selection if you try to do that. And there's a reason why simplified issue is more expensive than fully underwritten. So.
Well, maybe building on the question and the observation we just had, is that the right solution we should be pushing for the future? So I'll kind of build on that one. Maybe the answer is somewhere in the middle. Maybe the product that we have is not the right fit for the future, and we have to kind of reflect back through the learnings to get there.